Hi guys, welcome back to the channel Wreaths by Marguerite. I'm Marguerite, and today we're going to make this storm door wreath with the flip-flop design. This is a kit that is available in my Etsy shop, as well as this particular wreath that I made during the tutorial will be available. Both kits and wreath will be available in my Etsy shop. The information for that will be down in the description for this video. What we're doing today is a storm door wreath. What is a storm door wreath? A storm door wreath is a wreath that will fit in that 4 inches of space that you have between a storm door or a screen door and your regular door. Generally, like I said, they have 4 inches of space in there, and if you were to try to put a regular wreath there with a bow and all the fixins, it's gonna get smushed. It's not gonna fit, the door may not shut, and it's not gonna look good. This design was designed by my mentor, Melissa. It's a wreath that's under 4 inches deep, still with lots of mesh, still with lots of ribbon, just not a big bulky bow, so that it sits under 4 inches once it's made. See how thin that is? Doesn't look that thin when you look at it head on, does it? So follow along in our video to see how we assemble this, and if you have the desire to purchase the kit, feel free to watch this over and over again. It's free content. It'll help you through the process of making the wreath. So come on, let's go. Okay, so let's go over all of the product and the tools that you'll need. In the kit, you will get 12 pieces of deco mesh. You'll actually get 13 actually, just for an just in case piece. You need 12. It'll be pre-cut for you at 20 inches in length. This way, this is 10 1/4 inch mesh. Okay. So you'll get 12 of those. You'll get this 2.5 inch ribbon. It'll be folded for you already at the 12 inches, so you'll just have to cut it. You'll see that in a moment. Most of this kit I've already cut for the sake of time. Then you'll get a second 2.5 inch ribbon. 2.5 inches is this way, and they're all folded to be cut at a 12 inch length. And then a 1.5 inch solid pink, okay? So you got the mesh, you got the ribbon, next you've got the frame. It must be a 4 ring wreath ring with 6 crossbars for this project to work, to be a storm door wreath and to be nice and flat. You will have pipe cleaners when you buy the kit attached at rings 1 and 2 on the outside, 6 at the crossbar. And then you'll have your other 6 pipe cleaners on rings 3 and 4 in between the crossbars. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And for the sake of the project, I have all the pipe cleaners from the center set of 6 turned inside the ring, because we won't be using those right away. That way they're out of the way while we're working. And then last but not least, you will receive a sign with the flip-flops. You'll notice it already has pipe cleaners on it and that they're blue. I did blue so that they would blend with the mesh when the project was finished. It's 2 pipe cleaners cut in half, so you have 4 pieces, and they're mounted on all 4 edges of the sign with a couple of staples, using 1/4 inch staples, nothing deeper, because otherwise they'll come through the sign. You can also use cable tie mounts. If you watch some of my other tutorials, you'll see how I use those, and I'll explain how to use them in those videos. But for now, we're going to put the sign off to the side. We're going to put the ribbon off to the side. There's the rest of the bundles pre-made. And talk about the tools. You'll receive a copy of written instructions on how to do this on your own if you decide to do it otherwise. Continue making them. Or it's a great place to put notes to use as you go along with the video on this project, okay? I'm going to put that aside for now. You're going to need a good pair of scissors. I use Fiskar, that's my favorite brand. You're going to need a 12-inch ruler, a chip clip that helps hold your mesh when you're ruffling it, some wire cutters. I use this long plastic needle to feed my pipe cleaners from the sign through the mesh in the wreath. It makes things a whole lot easier. I find these on Amazon. Otherwise, you can just do it manually on your own. And then I have this dowel. That's to curl the pipe cleaners around on the top layer, or you can use a pen or a pencil, then you don't have to worry about having a dowel. That's about the same diameter as this is. You don't want something really chunky because you don't have enough pipe cleaners to wrap around bigger ones. So right now we are just going to use these two tools, because we're going to put the first layer of mesh on this wreath, which is the outside 6 pipe cleaners. When you're working on a storm door wreath, you want to make sure that the pipe cleaners you're working with are facing you, so you make sure you get everything in right, and then you're not contorting your body trying to put things in. Just turn the wreath as you're working on it, and make sure your pipe cleaners are already positioned at a horizontal position to you, so that you're not fighting to get your mesh into it. You'll see what I mean in a minute. Otherwise you'd need an extra hand, and I don't know anybody that has 3. Okay. If they do, I don't think they're from here. Just kidding. All right, so now you see how this mesh rolls up like this? You're going to want to put the curl side down so that you can ruffle this mesh to put it in here. So this mesh is going to go in vertically in the horizontal pipe cleaner, okay? So the first thing we need to do is find the center. The center is just over 5 inches, because this is 10¼ inch mesh, and that's where the chip clip comes in. I put it at the 5-inch mark, flip the mesh around, and measure it one more time so I know where my center is and where I should ruffle. And that gives me a visual point to get to and to help me stay on center. So I'm going to gather the mesh using my thumbs on the outside of the mesh, and the rest of my fingers just gathering it up small, trying to stay in the center, all the way up to that chip clip, watching that chip clip so I can stay in the center. When you have a patterned mesh, it's a lot easier. This has the same design throughout, so having that visual guide really helps. So I've now put the mesh in my index finger and thumb on this hand loosely, because now I want to adjust my mesh delicately so that the outside edges meet up, because we're looking to make it a perfect circle here. It may not always be perfect, but as close as you can. Because now you're going to bring the frame back over to you with that horizontal pipe cleaner and take that mesh in there vertically, holding it with one hand and using the other hand to bring up the pipe cleaner. See what I mean? And tight and low, twist your pipe cleaner 2 to 3 times. That looks like a mess right now, I know. So what we're going to do is take that outside cut edge over the inside cut edge of the mesh, and the outside cut edge on this side over the inside cut edge. The reason we do that is to hide the cut edges, because mesh frays, there's no avoiding it, but the less you handle it, the better. Now obviously this is not a perfect circle, right? So I need to make adjustments. So I can either take it back out and re-ruffle it and handle it more than I have to, or just hold it by the pipe cleaners and grab the mesh up by the pipe cleaners to make the adjustments to get that circle right. Because what's most important on this is the outside curve of the mesh. That, not so much. We're wanting to make sure that we have that perfect circle, or as close to perfect as possible, so that it sits right in the wreath to keep it at under 4 inches. I'm bringing that pipe cleaner up and out of the way too once I'm done. What I did was, when I adjusted this mesh, I didn't grab it from the outer edge, if you noticed. I grabbed it up towards the center by the pipe cleaners. That's so I don't change the design in the mesh, because when you pull on it, there's going to be a slight change in the design. But if you do it up here by the pipe cleaner, no one's ever going to see it, because it's going to be hidden by the other mechanics. So I'm going to pull it over here a little bit more, because I'm not perfectly satisfied with this circle on this. And then you curl in the outside edges, and it's going to fight you. That's completely expected. So it'll stay in place and actually attach itself to itself, because if I haven't told you already, mesh is like Velcro, and it will stick to anything and everything. That's also why you want to have at least 3 to 4 feet of space to work with, and wear short sleeves, because otherwise this will stick to your clothes. Don't wear anything nice when you're working with mesh. Now when I assemble the storm door wreath, I put the mesh in every other pipe cleaner. That gives it a pattern once it's finished on each layer. Plus I find that it helps keep it shorter, meaning under the 4 inches of depth we want on this wreath. Once I get the first layer done, I'll put it on its side to show you how thin it is. Okay, so next piece of mesh, curl side down, take that ruler, find your center, which is 5 inches, place the clip there, flip it around, do the same on this end, and finding your center, you take your thumbs on the outside of the mesh and you gather it with the rest of the fingers, heading up to that clip, staying in the center, or you can bring it back down to you as you ruffle. Again, that makes it more comfortable when you're not stretching so much. Get to the top, pull that clip out, hold it loosely in the thumb and index finger, whatever you want to call it. I'm just fussing with it a little bit till I get it the way I like it before I put it into the pipe cleaner. Remember that pipe cleaner is horizontal and you put the mesh in vertically. Okay? Tight and low twist this. Don't be afraid of it. 2 to 3 times. Now you're probably wondering why I put blue on the pipe cleaners on the side and green here. Because I want the green to show that matches the flip-flops and this ribbon, which will be on top. But you can do blue. It's up to you. Curl these outside edges in after I get them cut side over each other. So the outside cut edge is over the inside cut edge. Hold that pipe cleaner to make any adjustments you need to make. It really does work the best, I find. And you're not damaging anything. Skip this one. Go into this one. You might hear some loud cars in the background. I apologize. Apparently, I didn't realize that it was cruising night in our little bitty town of 6,200. Let's see. So the center is 5 inches. Twist it around. Do it one more time to find your center. Gather into your thumbs, having your thumbs on the outside of the mesh. Just crawl those fingers up to the top, or let it come back down to you, and then just keep gathering. I find that as I get past the first or second piece of mesh on each wreath, I don't have to make as much adjustments because I'm in my groove. You should find that too. So that mesh is in there vertically. The pipe cleaners are horizontal. I'm going to twist this tight and low 2 to 3 times. I usually do it 2. Then I'm going to take the outside, outside cut edge over the inside cut edge of the mesh, outside cut edge over the inside cut edge. And then we curl under all of our edges as much as it'll allow, making sure that that's nice and round. If it's not, I pulled it too far. Hold those pipe cleaners and pull it out from the base of the pipe cleaners to get it adjusted. Wow, I had it nice until I put it in here. I'm fired. Okay. Our most important thing to remember is that the outside edge, we want it to look nice and round. If it's not so round in there, it's not the end of the world. You know what the problem is? I cut this piece of mesh incorrectly in the first place. Cut that excess off and reposition it. Okay, so now we're going to go back and do the other 3 pieces in between those. And then the mesh on this layer will be done. So curl side is down. Measure for the center. Clip. Spin around. Measure for the center. And gather up the center. You can go as slow or as fast as you want to. I would imagine in the beginning you want to try to keep doing this slowly as you gather so it doesn't get too far out of whack. Put that in there. Like I said, once you get to multiples a day, like I do for shows, 1, 2, you start flying through a little bit more. Outside cut edge over inside cut edge. Pipe cleaners out of the way. Outside cut edge over inside cut edge. You'll find that the mesh that's on before it is gonna mess with you. That's okay. You just move it out of the way. Hit that circle. That one's okay. Next one. 2 to go on this layer. See, you gotta have enough room on your table or this is what happens. It's like Velcro. Perfect example right there, right? All right. Measure halfway. There it is, 5 inches. This one is an all deco poly mesh. It means it's all plastic and tinsel. Definitely water resistant. Gather it up the center. When I get to the second layer mesh, I'm going to show you how I gather the mesh when I'm not teaching a tutorial, so that you have an option for another way to do it. You'll find your own best practices. I just give you some basic guidelines and you can go and grow from there. Tighten low 2 to 3 times. 1, 2. Remember, the tight and low is to help keep the depth of the wreath under 4 inches. So taking that outside cut edge over the inside cut edge. You don't have to do it that way, but I find that it is much better to keep from fraying. Let me see. Get in there. There's a fire truck going now. Beeping his horn. Okay, here's the final piece of mesh for the first layer, and then we'll move on to ribbon tails. Curl side down. Use the ruler to find your center, which is 5 inches. Put that clip on there. Any kind of clip will do. And then I'm going to do it again on this side. And gather it up the center towards that clip. Small gathers to make it nice and ruffly. Get up here. There it is. Okay. Holding it with my index finger and my thumb, I'm going to adjust it. All right, and then we're going to go vertically into that horizontal pipe cleaner. I love this blue. I love this wreath. I just love the bright colors. After coming out of the summer and into the pastels of spring, I'm ready for something bright when the summer comes. I don't know about you. And who doesn't like flip-flops? All right, so that's done. Now we are going to cut our ribbon. You're going to either get back here, 1 or 2 bundles of each of these ribbons. So you'll get 13 pieces folded at 12 inches of the flip-flop, 13 pieces of the stripe, and 13 pieces of the hot pink. You only need 12 pipe cleaners, 12 pieces of mesh, 12 pieces of ribbon of each style. You may get 2 bundles. You might get a couple bundles depending on where it fell on the roll of ribbon. When I made your bundles, you might get 2 sets of bundles for each, but you're going to get 13 of each, and they'll all be folded at the 12 inches, okay? So this is going to be the piece that I use to show you how to fix mistakes for troubleshooting. So we'll set that there. This is one that is completed, so I'm going to fold it in half and put it over here with the rest. And this is 1 bundle. So like I said, the ribbon is folded just like this at 12 inches in length. And you are going to generally have you're going to have the same number of pieces on each side of the fold. And it's important to note that there's a back side and a front side to mesh. No, not mesh, ribbon. You're going to have your finished side on the top, and you're going to have your unfinished side on the bottom. So when you cut your ribbon, I always recommend to put a couple fingers in between each side of the pile, each side of the fold. And then you're going to go to the top, in between, cut there. And then you're going to come down here and do the same thing, still holding your finger in the middle. And there you're going to have your 12 pieces. Okay, you notice the finished side is up here and the unfinished back side is here. That's one side of the pile, one side of the pile. So I immediately turn the ones that are facing down over and onto the others that are facing up. I do that so that I can immediately fold them with the finished side on the inside directly in half. So that if, like in the case of solid color ribbon, I make sure that everything's folded if I have to walk away from the table, and I don't have to guess what the front and the back side of it is. This solid colored ribbon is pretty easy to tell the front and the back because of the fold on the edge, but it's not always that apparent. Excuse me. So that's why I fold my ribbon in this process. So finished side will go on the inside of your fold, directly in half. Make a nice solid crease at the center. That's going to help you with placing your ribbon in the wreath at the end. And then fold that last one and make sure they're directly in half so you can keep as much length on your ribbon as possible. So you're going to do that with all 36 pieces of ribbon that you need for this wreath. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put these cute little dovetails, these little V's in them, to finish off the ribbon tails. To do that, you take your folded side where the crease is, press that on the table, you take your outside wired edges and bring them over to each other, fold them directly in half, and then you're going to cut from this fold to that wired edge. See? Ta-da! Folded edge on the table, unfolded cut edge on the top, fold it in half wire to wire, and cut at a 45-degree angle from the folded side to the wire. Folded side down, cut side up, fold it in half, wire to wire, 45-degree angle from the fold to the wire. Do that one more time. Folded side down, wire to wire, fold it in half with the cut side towards the ceiling, cut it at a 45-degree angle from the fold to the wired edge. A piece of wire. Okay. All right. So, what happens if you cut it wrong? I'm going to give you a couple of examples. So we folded this in half evenly so that they match up. Then I'm going to take the folded side and put it down on the table and the cut side and face the ceiling. I'm going to fold it in half, but I'm going to accidentally, let me bring it in. See how that doesn't come all the way out? This would be a proper cut right here. But I'm going to accidentally bring it in like that. And then I'm going to cut it at a 45-degree angle from the fold. And you'll notice that this side is a bit smaller than that. It's not the end of the world. You can fix this without losing much length in your ribbon. You're just going to go back and refold it with the folded side on the table, the cut side to the ceiling, and you're just going to make sure this time the wires meet up. And there's a little bit of a gap there because of that miscut. All you have to do is go back right where you started on the folded side and cut to the top so that both sides of the ribbon are even, and there you go. They're both correct now. Now I'm going to also use this piece to show you another thing that can happen. You can do the normal thing, fold it wire to wire, folded side on the table, and cut it super deep, not at 45-degree angles. Yes, that's pretty, but we don't recommend it because what happens is if you have a super deep V, your ribbon tails are going to start curling like this in your project. To fix that, you're going to lose a little length in your ribbon. You're going to go back and fold it again, but you're going to cut it from where you cut it before on the fold side and bring it in a little bit more to get it a 45-degree angle, and that makes more sense, doesn't it? Now there's one more thing that can happen. And this is why I recommend when you're first time or first few times wreath maker, you don't want to cut all your ribbon at once. Some people take a pile of them and make all their dovetails at once. Because I had a situation at least once over my career with teaching classes where they've taken their folded piece of ribbon and see how this is the cut side and that's the folded side. They screwed up and put the folded side towards the ceiling. They folded it in half like they were supposed to, and they cut it at a 45-degree angle. This, I don't have any answers for you. You can't fix that, okay? So that's why I find it very important to take the time, especially when you're new at this, to cut your ribbon one piece at a time. Then when you're more comfortable that you're not going to be likely to make that mistake, you can do more at once. Also in the kit, I give you enough for one mistake on each piece of ribbon and one piece extra on the mesh, because the whole idea is to get an idea of whether you want to make wreaths, or if you're only wanting to make one wreath, you don't want to have a bunch of extras, right? That helps me keep the cost down for you and pass it on. You're not left with a bunch of extra supplies that you're not going to use, you know, all those things. So then the next step is to take all your folded ribbon. So you've done the fold, you've done the V's, then you just have to determine what order you want your ribbon in the bundles on your wreath. I want the flip-flops on the top, so that's going to be on the inside. Then I'm going to put the pink behind it, and then I'm going to put the stripe behind that. Now keep in mind, the stripe has a pink edge and a red edge. So if you do the blue edge on that side with the flip-flops facing you, you're going to want to make sure that all lines up right. So even I am going to leave one out as an example. So flip-flops facing me, this is the same, so we're putting them together where the creases are. I had the blue, so I had to flip this one around, put that on the back side to make my bundle. Okay, there's that one. So what do I have over here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So turn it around. This is what's called directional ribbon. All of the flip-flops are facing me. In some ribbon, they go back and forth and back and forth. Then you can place them however you want in the wreath, making sure the blue on this side is on that side. So we have to be a little more careful when we're placing these. Please tell me I'm not short. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, I scared myself. So that's all of them. These are also spares. So that was 13. Yeah. Okay, I'm all right. Scared myself for a second. Okay. So now we're going to take 6 of these bundles that we've made. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this one is pink out, so I got to adjust that. If this one looks a little wrinkly to you, that's because I used it on the mesh to make sure everything matched how I wanted to when I made these kits. So now we're going to get the ribbon tails to go into the wreath. So where that crease was your center, so you're going to gather your ribbon and hold it loosely in your thumb and forefinger, and then you're going to take the tails and face them down towards you in an upside down V, so that when we put it in the wreath, the ribbon is facing the outside of the wreath, not the inside or hidden. We're going to take that pipe cleaner really tight and low, 1, 2, and then we're going to twist up. And we're going to twist up until, I'm going to bring it back in again, wrong way. We're going to twist up until we make about a 1-inch twist. And then we're going to take those wire cutters and cut off the excess pipe cleaner that we don't need. We're going to take that pipe cleaner we twisted up and tuck it into the wreath. And then we're going to take our ribbon and position them by pulling on them and separating them and running our fingers over the ribbon as we're positioning them to face the outside of the wreath. Now on this side I'm going to have flip-flop, pink, and then stripe. On this side it's going to be stripe, pink, and then flip-flop. You see what I did there? So that way I have a little more design, gives a little more dimension. I push down on it a little bit. That helps keep it nice and low. And again, just like with the mesh, I do every other. I forgot what I was saying. Gather it in the center, push that in an upside down V. I'll bring it back out now. Okay. I'll probably bring it out a little more in a minute. So bring that out here. Make this tight and low 2 to 3 times. 1, 2, 3. I'm not far enough out, guys. Guys and gals. So I did it tight and low 2 to 3 times. Now I'm going to do it up to make that 1-inch twist and cut the excess off. Make sure you have a trash can nearby if I haven't said that. So I'm going to lift these top 2 up and out of the way so I can get better access to the ribbon on the bottom, and then fluff them as I go, positioning them. Keep trying to bring it off screen, I apologize. And remember this side, I'm going to have the stripes face the outside first. I press that down. This is a little bit stiffer mesh, so it pops up a little bit more. All right, skip that one and go to this one. And I'm also making sure that this pink edge of the stripe is to the inside of the wreath, and my flip-flops are all facing the same direction. Okay, I gathered it where the crease was and making the V. See, it's connecting itself to everything in its path, that mesh. It's great, but it can be a pain sometimes. 3 times tight and then twist up to make a 1-inch twist. Cut off the excess. Tuck it in. I try to do all these things all as I go. I could wait and cut the pipe cleaners at the end of this layer, but I'd rather do it as I go. Every once in a while I do it that way, just to mix it up. When you make 10 to 12 wreaths in a day, you don't want it to become monotonous. So lift these 2 up, bring the stripe down, the pink in the center, and then there. See, it's already fighting me. It's already fighting me. I'm going to win. And when you're adjusting the ribbon, never grab it, just like the mesh, never grab it by the edge because it can fray too. So the less you handle your cut edges, the better. So now, I've done the first 3, now it's time for the next 3. This time I'm going to do it with the pink edge down, so I'm going to have the blue up. See the blue? And the flip-flops are facing the opposite direction, just to give it a little bit more dimension. Gather it in the center, fold that inverted V, make sure those pipe cleaners are vertical, put the ribbon in horizontal, tight and low 2 to 3 times. Don't be afraid of it. And then twist up for a 1-inch twist. Cut off the excess. Tuck that in and spread out your ribbon. Run your fingers over it to make it nice and pretty. Move the ribbon, move the wreath to keep it easier for you to work with so you're not contorting your body. So remember, blue side up and the flip-flops the opposite. So see what I'm doing here? Every other, the flip-flops are one way, and every other 3, the flip-flops are the other way. I don't know if the customers ever notice it. 1, 2, and then a twist. But I do, and I think it looks better that way. It's entirely up to you what you decide to do. Again, remember, these are just directions that you can adjust if they're not how you want to do it. Just basic guidelines. Push that in. Spread out your ribbon. That pipe cleaner came back up. That's okay. That's okay. Get back in there. Thank you. Spread it out. Spread it out. Run your fingers over it to get all the wrinkles out. And then this is the last one for this layer, so it's pipe cleaners, vertical. We're going to put in the ribbon horizontal, having it in front of you. This is with the blue side up, blue side of the stripe up. See the blue versus the pink? Then we have the flip-flops, the opposite, so it all evens out. You can only really do this every other if you have an even number of pipe cleaners to put them in. If you have an uneven number, flip that down. You're going to have two exactly the same next to each other. And if you're like me, that would bug you. Tight and low, 1, 2, 3, then up to make a 1-inch stub of twist. Cut the excess off. Tuck that little stubby in there. And spread out your ribbon in the desired formation. Just love this. I make this sign and this ribbon combination every year. Just slightly different. One year I did it with a pink mesh base, one green. I've done it with yellow. But I think the blue is my favorite mesh base on this wreath. Okay, so now it's time to do the mesh on the top layer. So we're going to bring these pipe cleaners up in between each piece of mesh on the bottom layer. So you have 6 pipe cleaners to bring up. And then we'll start ruffling the mesh again, okay? Again, once you get it up there, place your pipe cleaners horizontal to you. See how I'm waiting until it's right in front of me to work on it? That way I'm not stretching out unnecessarily and getting uncomfortable, okay? So now, our last 5 pieces of mesh. 6, kidding. Curl side down. When you get to the inner rolls, they get tighter and they don't lay as flat on the table, so I use something to weigh it down while I'm working on it, so it's not fighting me. Now on this layer, I'm going to show you how I regularly measure where my center is. If you don't have a ruler, you don't have to have a ruler. You just take that outside edge against the other outside edge, and that tells me where my center is right there. Smart, huh? That holds it down now, so I take that edge over that edge, and then my finger is right there where the center is, and then I'm going to measure. I'm going to ruffle up with 2 hands. The other way you can ruffle is if you hold the ruffle that you've done so far in one hand, and I like to hold the mesh down and do it this way. Try both ways, see what works best for you. Holding it in your thumb and forefinger. Okay. Bring that over. Let's get that. Bring this in vertically. This is definitely stiffer than some of the mesh I use on some of the other wreaths. There's so many different, 1, 2. So many different kind of meshes out there. There's fabric mesh, which is really soft on your hands. So outside cut edge over inside cut edge. Outside cut edge over inside cut edge. Now it's blending in. So you have to find it, unstick it from its neighbor, and then get that circle. Remembering the most important thing is not to grab it by the edge, grab it further inside. And position it. I'm going to skip one again, go to the next one. tries. Fold it in half to get my center, right there where the index finger is. Flip it around, remembering always curl side down. Fold it in half to find my center, and then ruffle. This is the way I do it. Works really well for me. But now you have two different techniques you can try. Okay, bring this over to the wreath. Tight and low, twist this pipe cleaner 2 to 3 times. I typically do it twice. Unless I'm talking too much, I tend to do it a little more. Ah, see? Hitchhiking. Mesh. You mind your business. Okay. Okay, skip one, going to here. Curl side down. Fold it in half to find our center. Our center is right here. Turn it around, find my center by folding it directly in half. Ruffle, I'm doing the one hand ruffle, I love to call it. Okay, fold it loosely in the thumb and forefinger so you can make any adjustments if they're needed. Put that in there. Tight and low 2 to 3 times. Outside cut edge over inside cut edge. Sometimes I curl the mesh under as I go because it helps it cooperate. And now we do our final 3. You should have one extra piece of mesh. If you do, you can take and put it in a pipe cleaner with your extra ribbon if you didn't have to use it. Make just a little poof. You could put that anywhere. Let me clip that there. That's the center. Oh my. And wire cutters blend in very well. Fold that in half. Gather up the center. See how my circles seem like they come out better or circular when I do it that way? Center it vertically in the pipe cleaner. If this is your first time on my channel, welcome again. I've got lots of content and I'll have a lot more. I usually release my videos on Sunday afternoons. I do more than just tutorials for kits I sell. I show how to make bows. I also make videos to show you other things that I make for my shop. And hopefully in the future, I might be able to make kits for some of those things as well. Just have to see how things work out. This is my first year. Okay, we still have 2. I thought I... See? Ay, ay, ay. Mesh. Oh, mesh. Get over here. We don't need your help. Okay. Curl side down. Fold it in half to find your center. So I was making wreaths for 5 years before it dawned on me all I have to do is fold it in half to find my center. We are always learning as a species, right? Holding that loosely on my index and forefinger. I love this wreath. This finished wreath will also be available in my shop as well as the kits to make it. Outside cut edge over inside cut edge. I hold it down with my other hand, and then I bring up that outside cut edge over this one, and we're off a little bit here. So what do I need to do? It's so sparkly and shiny. All right. And last but not least, I'm going to keep that and use the one I ruffled for my trial. And save those two pieces for some other project, or maybe for the back of a bow. That sounds like a good idea. Okay, I'm gonna put that in there. Perfectly good piece of mesh. Tighten low twice to 3 times. Then take that outside cut edge over the inside cut edge. Outside cut edge over the inside cut edge. Now I gotta make adjustments because it's way wider on the inside. All right. All right, so I'm gonna stand now. I did all of that sitting. I'm gonna stand now because it's time for me to put the sign on. You can either put the rest of the ribbon on and then the sign, or you can do it like I'm doing, which is putting the sign on before the ribbon, because I like the ribbon to overlay the sign a little bit, frames it nicely. Okay. So I pushed all the pipe cleaners out, and I have one set of pipe cleaners at 12 o'clock and at 6 o'clock. That is my center. That will allow me to put this sign in between these 4 sets of pipe cleaner. This is 12 inches wide, so I know that this works perfectly, okay? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna feed the pipe cleaners on the sign through the mesh using that pink plastic needle I told you guys about. Right here. You can just feed the pipe cleaner through to the backside with your hand. That's fine and dandy. It's just less frustrating if you take one of these plastic embroidery needles, put it through the mesh to the back, and feed the pipe cleaner through it, fold it over slightly, pull it through the wreath. It's a lot less work, trust me. And then when we do that, we always do the pipe cleaners in an X pattern. So I did that one, so I'm going to do this one, then I'm going to do that one, and then I'm going to do this one, okay? And I put them in, when they're a 12-inch sign, right on the inside of each of these pipe cleaners, because that centers it perfectly, I have found. So here's that pipe cleaner. I'm going to put that through there, just on the inside of the pipe cleaners that the ribbons are going to go in. I put the blue pipe cleaner from the back of the sign through the needle and through the back. All right. Again, making sure that this stays centered. I'm going to turn it over by holding the sign to make sure it doesn't move. And I'm going to wrap these pipe cleaners around one of the wire rings on the back of the wreath until it's completely gone. Putting a little pressure on the wreath, but not a lot. When it's gone, we take that pointed edge down into the wreath so we don't have any sharp edges that will scratch somebody's door. I lifted it up a little bit before I turned it because we don't want to drag it on the table, because then we're going to scratch our sign. So we always lift to move it, don't just twist it. Making sure that end is down into the wreath. And now we're going to go back and do the final 2 here and here. Putting it under the sign just a little bit on the other side of those pipe cleaners that are green from the ribbon tails. Feed it through. When you're doing this, always make sure any ribbon on the bottom layer is out of the way so you don't poke a hole through it. That's the last thing you want. Put that through there. Put that pipe cleaner in there. Lift it up a little bit to pull that needle through. All right, so that's all 4 of them. The reason we do it XX, that helps you from putting your sign in cockeyed. Put your hand on the sign again, flip it over, and then slight bit of pressure on the wreath. Twist that pipe cleaner around one of the wire rings. completely wrapped around. Sharp point towards the inside. And now it's time to put the final 6 bundles of ribbon in. And on the top layer, do it a little bit differently. It's entirely up to you if you continue the same way you did on the bottom in the pattern. But on the top layer, I don't do the inverted V. So I gather the ribbon, I put it horizontally into the pipe cleaners, which are, remember, vertically, tight and low 2 to 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Now you can do several things. They make some really cute buttons that I don't have any of that you can put on the pipe cleaner and then twist it more and tuck it under the ribbon bundle. You can see that in my bee video and in my ladybug video. But in this case, we have 2 choices since I don't have buttons to show you. And they don't ever come in the kits. I get them at Hobby Lobby. They have a shank on the back. You can either just keep twisting like you did on the bottom layer, your pipe cleaner up, and then lift one side of your ribbon bundle and put it on the bottom and cut the excess off to have just a little stump right there. Or you can do like I'm going to do, is just twist it 3 times like we did in the first place. Okay, I'm going to spread my ribbon out in the pattern that I want it in. So in this particular one, there's that. And then the pink. And then the flip-flops. Then I'm going to turn it around and not make it hard on myself. Bring that out. Put that in the center. And the flip-flops on the top. But what I'm going to do is twist the pipe cleaner around and make these little curls. You can either press them down in like I did, or you can spread them out so you can see like a little corkscrew. It's entirely up to you. They're sure having fun out there in that car show. Revving their engines. Okay. Now I just did something I normally don't do. I usually wait and do 6 o'clock and 12 o'clock last because I want them on top, but I can fix that in a minute. I'm also again going to flip-flop the ribbon. So these went that way, so this time it's going to go this way. And I'll just lift this up and out of the way because I want them on top. Place that in there. Tight and low 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Position my ribbon. So on this one I have the sandals up, flip-flops up top. This time I'm going to flip it and put the stripes up top. And the sandals to the outside edge, okay? Flip-flops. Where did I come up with sandals all of a sudden? I don't know, same thing, right? I'm running my fingers over the ribbon as I'm placing it. Lifting the top 2 up to position the bottom one first. Pink's always in the center in this design. If I were doing this on a pink base, I would put blue here instead of pink. Pardon. Twist these around the dowel. There we go. And then now I can put these back where they belong. Pardon. And then I'm going to move here. Do this bundle. So since that one had the blue on the top of the stripe, I'm going to have the pink on this top, which makes the flip-flops the opposite direction as well. So you can see what I'm doing there. Take those pipe cleaners horizontal, vertical, put the ribbon in, horizontal, tight and low 3 times. Okay. Position your ribbon so it's back to stripes facing out, pink in the middle as always, and the flip-flops on the top, fluffing them as I go. Fluffing them, just moving your fingers over the ribbon to give them a little bit of curl. Okay. Another tip is you can use this dowel to give it curl too. Makes it fluffier. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, I'm gonna make more piggy tails. I usually twist one side one direction on the dowel and one side on the other. Alright, I'm going to leave 12 o'clock to last because I was supposed to leave 6 and 12 to last because that's usually what I do. But sometimes when I get talking, I forget what I'm doing. Okay, so this should be pink side down. This one fell apart. And that way. If you're not sure and you're sitting down to do this, sometimes it helps to stand up to get a bit different perspective. I find that to be true. When I'm creating, if this one out of the way, I'm up and down and up and down. I can't sit too long, I can't stand too long. Tight and low 3 times. 1, 2, 3. So that means stripe is up, pink in the center, and flip flop down. We can put these back where they belong. Stripes up, pink in the center, flip flop to the bottom, run your fingers over the ribbon, giving it that curve. So this side should be pink up, flip flops opposite direction, vertical pipe cleaners, horizontal ribbon, tight and low 3 times. 1, 2, 3. So this one, the stripes face the outside, and the pink in the middle, and the flip-flops up top. Also known as top, meaning the center of the wreath versus the outside. Okay. Twist and twist and twist. Alright, and then I do the last two, the 6 and 12 o'clock last, so that they sit neatly on top of the rest of the bundles. So we're going to go this way. Horizontal and a vertical pipe cleaners. Tight and low 2 to 3 times, usually 3. Position your ribbon where you want it, starting with the bottom one. Or if you get really adept, you do it all at once. We won't go into that today because I don't want to confuse you. Okay, so I'm going to try that one more time to curl it. I run my fingers, and the dowel's on the back side. This side is trying to hide the pink. Alright, there's that. You can make them totally straight out flat, or you can give that extra curl to it. Either way, it's going to sit beautifully on your door if you have a storm or screen door without making it look smushed. One final twist of the pipe cleaners, and then we'll go back and adjust the ribbon on the lower level. I missed that. You guys didn't say nothing. Oh yeah, you can't. It's a joke. I know. Don't quit my day job. That's why you come back at the end, make sure any tags are off, cut any frayed pieces of mesh or ribbon, pull the ribbon into position, move all of this stuff out of the way. So when you do adjust the ribbon on the bottom layer, lift the mesh up from the top layer so you're not snagging your ribbon when you're adjusting its location, because that just means you're going to have to cut more of it off. And you don't want to do that. I don't want to. So there's that. And put that there. on there. Some of it stayed out, some of it did not. All right. And there we go. All finished. Okay, there you have it. A storm door wreath with flip-flops. What better way to show your appreciation for the summer? The kit's available in my Etsy shop. The completed wreath is available in my Etsy shop. All that information is down in the description for this video. Also, I first wanted to thank you for spending time with me today. I know your time is valuable, and any time you spend with me is much appreciated. Also, I have other avenues to get in touch with me or to follow me. You could first of all subscribe to the YouTube channel if you enjoy the content. I also have a Facebook page, a Pinterest page, and an Instagram page. All of them are the same name, Wreaths by Marguerite, so that makes it easier. Again, kits available in the shop, wreaths available in the shop. If you have any questions, drop them down in the comments. I'm pretty good about getting back to them. If they have any questions, I'd be more than happy to help you in any way I can. Enjoy and have a great one. Bye-bye.